let's learn a fun technique today, and I have some cool supplies to show you. I'm using the Decorative Heart Die by Crafter's Companion, and it's actually one that comes free in the starter kit when you buy a new Gemini die cutting and embossing machine. It's a really nice die. It's got some great detail to it, and yeah, I'm excited to use that. Also using a stamp set by Tonic called Topper Essentials, and there's some great sentiments in there. I'll be using My Love For You Grows Each and Every Day. And this beautiful 12 by 12 paper pad by Crafter's Companion called Decadent Decor, and it's got gorgeous patterns in it, kind of a pearlescent effect on there as well. Really love the colours of this, very classy. And it was my inspiration for the card, actually. The copper in there was my inspiration. No worrying about using the one sheet that you like the most. There's lots of the same in there, so get using your paper pads. And then I'm using Brutus Monroe copper penny embossing powder. So to start with, you need to grab a piece of white card, fairly decent GSM, and big enough to cut the heart die I showed you. So I'm just going to attach that to the piece of white card so it doesn't jump about. Just using some low tack tape. Not absolutely necessary if you're not lining it up with anything, but I just prefer to make sure it's on my piece of card rather than taking it out of the machine and find out it's missed a little corner or it's jumped. So just bring in my Gemini machine and add it to the normal plate combination for die cutting. Just pop it in. Let that do its magic. No handle to crank, just press the button and go. That's my kind of crafting. So that's just coming out the other end there, as you can see. Let's see what we've got. Pop the machine to one side. There we go. Quick clean up. And just release that die so we can pop it away for next time. And the last few bits to pop out. Not having to use a pokey tool or anything, they're just literally coming out because die cut it beautifully, even with all of that detail on there. Very happy with that. Gorgeous. But it's not going to stay white, as lovely as it is. So I'm bringing in a piece of scrap paper, just copier paper. And my Versamark ink for heat embossing. And I'm going to squish some ink over that heart. Just make sure, just take your time, make sure it's nicely covered. Kind of try and work out if you've missed a bit, because it'll be kind of glistening in the parts where you have inked it. So just make sure you've covered the whole area. It will stick. Versamark is kind of sticky. Just taking it to the light so I can see if I've missed any bits. Now let's bring in that beautiful embossing powder and we'll throw the whole lot on. Don't ever be shy with how much embossing powder you use. The image is only going to retain what it needs, so the rest of it will go back in the pot, but you'll get a much better finish if you just really douse that on there. Try to avoid blowing hard on it or tapping it hard, like gently like I'm doing now, is fine. But don't whack it, don't blow it, because you want to retain all of that lovely powder on the image. So then you just scoop all the rest of it that you didn't use back in the pot. We'll be doing some more in a moment. Just keep everything nice and tidy. It's not as much fun clearing it up as it is crafting with it. So don't knock it over. Put it back in the pot. Put the lid on. Okay, so that's what it looks like against the white when you've heat embossed. We're going to heat emboss it now, but that's what the coppery looks like. So we're just bringing that extra piece, the next piece of card, so I don't heat emboss all the powder that we had left on the last bit of scrap card. Get your heat tool a little bit warm, and we are now going to await the magic. So the camera should pick up where it's turning to a nice bright copper. And what you want to do is, as soon as it's turned, and you will see that it's turned even on your first time of heat embossing, take the heat away from that area, move to the next section, because if you overheat, you're going to find it gets pitted and it won't be as beautiful and glossy and opulent as it should be. So just go over that. I'm just going to again hold it up to see if I've missed any bits, and I did miss a little bit, so let's go over. So pretty. Just love that copper. Just gorgeous. Having a bit of a heat embossing week. You go through stages when you're a crafter. It's like, let's get the embossing powders out. Never stops being a wow. Gorgeous. Now you have a beautiful metallic heart, whereas it was just a plain piece of white card before. Love that. So this is the card blank that we're using, square card blank, which measures 8 by 8 inches. Just put that there to just make sure that it's going to work with the sentiment we're going to be using. And there will be some mats as well that I'm going to put on with that beautiful paper I showed you. So the sentiment, my love grows for you each and every day. So that's going to get heat embossed as well. So there's not many steps to the card. It's not overly intricate, but I think because of the colours are very opulent, you've got the heat embossing on there, which really steps it up, makes it look very professional. And yeah, the heat embossing, the image and the papers will all speak for themselves. So just stamp that. Just always open my card blanks up if I'm stamping, and then I'm using this little pillow here, which has like a fine powder inside, and it's going to remove any residual oils and things from the card to just give me the best result for my heat embossing. So exactly the same ink. And I just need to bring in my stamping mat. So same ink, prepared it, putting my fingers on it there. You shouldn't do that because I've put my little pillow over it. But anyway, don't put your fingers on it once you've prepared your surface. Same ink, and just stamp that. Bit of a leap of faith because obviously you haven't got any coloured ink on there to see. So same process, add the whole pot of embossing powder if you want to make sure the whole thing is covered. Okay, so on this one, I don't know why, it just wanted to keep putting this little splodge down there. But that's fine. We're going to fix it. Where I took it off with my finger, not a wise move. I took a little bit of the powder off, so I've gone back over the powder. And what you need to do is, when you are heat embossing, is always have a little brush to hand. So there you go. Grab my brush and just clean up any spots. Do not heat emboss while you've still got spots on there. Get rid of everything first. There you go. I'll just show you that once more because it did it again. Go over with the brush. Make sure it's perfect and you're happy. The tiniest speck will ruin that whole classy look of it. So just take your time with a little brush. Once your powder is on, you've got time. Even before the powder's on with the embossing ink, you've got a bit of time. But once your powder's on, you've definitely got time. So clean it up, and you will get lovely results. So again, the same process. Warm up your heat tool, and as soon as that starts to turn, then just move on to the next section. You don't have to wave it around madly, just nice and gently. You can see that is going. Love that. Never gets old. It's always fun. Gorgeous. So all of our heat embossing is done. And that's a lovely combo, right? But I'm just going to add a little bit more. So bring in that gorgeous paper pad, Decadent Decor. Now we get to choose which pages, so let's have a look. So the card is 8 by 8, so bear that in mind. I don't want it to fill the whole front. Obviously we've got that sentiment on there anyway. I like white space on my card. So which to choose? Let's have this one with the nice blue. Comes out nicely. And we need a second one. I reckon this could be for men or women. You can use it for Valentine's Day, you could use it as an anniversary, you could use it as a just because I love you, whatever you choose. So this was me trying to decide. I was going to go for 5.5 by 5.5, so cut that initially, and you'll see me just try that on the card. So just using my trimmer to take that down to 5.5 by 5.5. This is the bottom layer. And just brought in my card to have a look. That's not the right bit. I was confused why it wasn't the right size, but grabbed the wrong bit. Just didn't leave enough space there at the top, so I changed my mind and went for 5 by 5 instead. Could have brought the sentiment lower, but I actually quite like it in that spot, so just double checking my colours. So taking it down to 5 by 5, so 1/2 inch off. works much better. So that means that my next piece, so the top layer before the heart obviously, is going to be 4.5 by 4.5, just to have that 1/2 inch increment. Works pretty well. You don't want to hide the papers too much. The bottom layer, I mean. Okay, so let's have a little check of that. Sorry, I didn't have it flat enough to see that on the camera. And that works pretty well. Cool. And I'm not going to add any other mats or layers to that. We're going pretty clean on this one. That's what it looks like behind the white. I toyed with the white but changed my mind. I think just white and copper would be really nice without the papers as well. Might try that at some point. Okay. Just doing my double checks before I stick anything down. Always be sure in your mind what you want to do, how you want it to look before you stick it down. I don't know why I turned it over. It's the same both sides. I'm used to either it being blank on the other side or a different pattern. Okay, so just a little bit of glue. I'm using some wet glue, so I've got some wiggle room in case I put it on wonky. Well, not in case, because I'll put it on wonky. Just like my trademark. Okay, just make sure that's nicely down. Then the same with the blue layer. Don't want to overload that wet glue either because it is a paper, so you don't want to buckle anything. See that copper shining? I love it. The copper and the sentiment, I mean. Okay, just make sure it's straight. Okay, so now we're going to need to add the heart, and I shall use my glue on the back of the hand technique for that. Okay, so I've just got some glue. Obviously you'll need to make sure that you're not allergic or anything if you're doing this. So if you want to use this technique, do a little patch test first. So just a thin layer of glue, and I'm going to tap that image in there. Just so that we are getting glue on there, but not so much that it ruins it. So just on the white parts. Try to keep the bits in the middle to a minimum. And then now you'll have the opportunity to see if you've missed any bits. So you can just grab a little bit of strip of card or whatever. I had a little strip of card on hand to just add some glue there where it missed a little bit underneath. Just be gentle, take your time. That little piece there played hard to get. That fine line between it sticking and splodging all over the place. So just keep my finger on that a second while that sets. And then the other end of that little strip, just cleaning up. It will dry clear anyway, so not too much of a problem, but you may as well try and just clean up a little bit whilst you can. And then just probably being overly fussy. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a blue embellishment, just bringing out that blue in the paper. The slight rhinestone malfunction, to be fair. I think I still had a little bit of sticky on my fingers. Never work with children, animals or embellishments. Having big troubles trying to keep one blue stone under control. There we go. So it doesn't pick it up too well on the camera, but it does enhance it. Seems to call out for something in the middle of it, that heart. You could snip that where you've got that flower in the centre as well. You could snip that and layer that too. And now I'll just have some linen thread, and I'm going to make a little bow. And the linen thread ties nicely with the base layer card. So just tying a bow. The trickiest bit is trying to work out where I want to put it. And I have a little glue dot that I'm going to attach that with, keeping it all nice and clean and tidy. So that's where I initially put it. Then I go all the way around the card, and then you'll see me decide on the first place that I tried. There we go. Go if you got instinct. Just pick up a little glue dot. And that goes on there nicely, and I'll just snip the tails a bit. Just make that as flat as it wants to go. And that is it. It almost gives me like a William Morris type vibe, don't know why. Maybe it's the colours. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Do give heat embossing a try if you haven't before, and I'll see you next time.